Welcome to the all viewers and well-wishers of the world. The purpose of my lecture is learn the knowledge from the word and return the knowledge to the word. Motto of my life is learn, earn and return. I have learned a lot, earned a lot, now to return a lot to the word from I. The topic of today is host defenses against bacteria. These are just, if you look at this diagram, so these are the host defenses. Body uses the different kind of the weapons to combat the bacteria and to kill the bacteria and to save the body from the attack of the bacteria. So all this is being covered today in the host defenses against bacteria. Microbiological umbrella that forms a barrier or the defense against infectious diseases. These are simply mean defenses or the resistance offered by the host to the invading microbes. Host defenses are destroyed by the destruction of the different barriers by the bacteria, and defective immune response also responsible for the bacteria to just enter into the body and destroying the immune response. Once entered, pathogen must overcome many host defenses before causing the actual infection. These include phagocytosis, acidic environment of the stomach and the urogenital tract, various hydrolytic and proteolytic enzymes found in the saliva, in stomach, in small intestine, and even in the tears, which does not allow the bacteria to flourish inside the body. And many physical and chemical barriers of the host are protective against bacterial infection. These include antibacterial factors in secretions covering the mucosal surfaces, rapid rate of the replacement of the skin and the mucosal epithelial cells. Mostly bacteria in environment are relatively benign to the host with normal immune system. They just want to live there to enjoy the food of the host and not going to cause any damage usually. But immune suppressed, like those on receiving cancer chemotherapy or have AIDS and other diseases which depress the immune system, the opportunistic microbial pathogens can cause life-threatening infection. So the non-specific resistance mean defenses that protect against all the pathogens whatsoever that comes to attack the body, and specific resistance is protection against specific pathogens which do harm the body. So that is the difference between non-specific and specific. Now, host defenses naturally what are? These are the gut, the peristalsis movement does not allow the bacteria to stay there. Defecation also allow the bacteria to get out from the body. Respiratory tract, ciliary action of the respiratory tract, coughing and sneezing, these all push out and cough out the pathogens which are trying to reside there and to invade the respiratory tract. Similarly, urogenital tract, urination is a protective process in which the bacteria are flooded with the urine water and these get out from the body. Here one can see the peristalsis movement. The food is also pushed, but also the bacteria which are just with the food, these are also pushed away and not allowed to stay there. Similarly, one can see the defecation in which the bacteria are expelled out with the feces, whatever they are in the gut. And here one can see the cough is a protective response, and by which it is just going to make out the bacteria and the other particles which can damage the respiratory tract. Here one can see the healthy mucociliary escalators and that is just pushing out the whatever the debris goes with the air inside the lungs, and that is being pushed out, and then through the mucus that is being expelled out. But if there is unhealthy mucociliary escalator or ciliary function is not up to the mark, so there is stagnation of the secretions and the bacteria, and they get the opportunity to damage the lungs. Here one can see they just reside over the mucous membrane. Here these are being expelled out, and here they do stay on the mucous membrane. Now there are following types of the host defenses against bacteria. Number one, physical barrier, and that includes skin and mucous membrane with mucus, first line. Chemical barriers, role of the iron, innate immunity, complement macrophages, cytokines, these are causing the phagocytosis in the early stage. Then adaptive immunity, as the name is, that is AG or antigen specific. B and T cells later stage, they do recognize the antigen, and then they make specific antibodies against those antigens which the bacteria do contain. So that is called adaptive immunity. Now the physiological barriers at the portal of entry, first line defense include skin, and number two is the mucous membrane, which contains cilia, hair and mucus, just to safeguard the entry of the unwanted bacteria and the particles to the body. The intact skin and the mucous membrane is present over body surface or the body cavities. These native microbiota, the normal microbial flora, are defenses providing barrier to the infection. At these exposed sites, they do not allow the invading bacteria to get the place, so they just occupy the places beforehand, and that does not allow the opportunist and the pathogenic bacteria to enter into the body. Here one can see the diagram. First line of defense, saliva having the antibacterial enzyme. Tears, I have told you that it also contains antibacterial enzymes and the lysozyme. Mucous lining traps the dirt and the microbes. Good gut bacteria out compete the bad bacteria which are lying in the gut, so they do not allow the bad bacteria to enter into the mucosal lining and ultimately to the bloodstream. Stomach acid, low pH. Because of that stomach acid, it kills the harmful microbe. Skin prevents the entry of any bacteria unless skin is broken. So all these are the first line of defense. It is said to be, do it now, sometimes later becomes never. But it is also said that sometime it's better too late than never. But do try to do it as early as possible so that you can achieve your goal earlier. Now, first barrier is skin, most important barrier of the body. Although easily damaged by the cuts or the abrasion, these breaches in the skin allow microbes to enter the blood. After entering the skin, then go to the skin layers, submucosa, and deeper layer to the dermis, and ultimately reach to the blood and causing the bloodstream infection. Keratin in the epidermal layer forms a tough and impenetrable barrier to the infection. It prevents entry of the microbes from the environment to the body. Epidermis consists of the squamous cell epithelium, largely comprised of the dead cell, and these shed off continuously. So whatever the bacteria are residing there, they are also displaced from the body, and these are just taken away, sloughed off, taken away, attached microorganism, new cells are formed below them, and the old are just taken away. Skin surface is a dry, Acidic environment, poor source of the nutrition for the invading microbes. Low water content of the skin presents a desert-like condition for the bacteria. Temperature is less than 37 degrees centigrade. Fatty acids secreted by the sebaceous glands in the skin have antibacterial and anti fungal activity, so does not allow the bacteria to have a favorable condition and merrymaking at the skin because of these fatty acids and antibacterial and antifungal activity of these glands. These fatty acid production at the puberty give resistance to the ringworm fungal infection. Fatty acid also increase pH of the skin, that is, it makes it low to 3 to 5, so against harmful for the bacteria, not favorable for the bacteria. Many bacteria can enter sweat or sebaceous glands and hair follicles. Lysozyme, an enzyme present on the skin, tears, respiratory secretion, cervical secretion. The female can dissolve bacterial cell wall. And here one can see the surface epidermal skin layers and they are shedding continuously that contains keratin, impenetrable layer, maturing skin cells that displace and just replace these underlying cells are also producing these layers which is continuously sloughed off and there is continuous cell renewal so the bacteria cannot resist and just stay there for a longer time. The first line of defense is the outer keratinized layer is a barrier to the entry of the microorganism and one can see as the bacteria try to enter the skin that is being kicked off by the messy footballer who is there to protect the skin. Then physical barrier, skin, that it have got the layered tissue, puncture resistant usually, high in keratin, water repellent, secretions maintain low pH, outer layer slough off and that reduces the microbial load and that is self-repairing from the lower layer to the upper layer, that is a continuous cell renewal. And then one can have this sweat gland and sebaceous secretion that contain bacteriostatic substances like lactic acid, which does not allow the bacteria to reside on the, but it has been said that the bacteria sometimes do reside in the hair follicle and also sometime in the sweat glands and the sebaceous gland, and these are just getting the shelter there and whenever they get opportunity they are capable of attacking the skin by coming out. So the pores and the crevices of the skin are colonized by the many organism microbiota, cause no harm. They do not allow pathogen any space. When antibiotic therapy suppresses this microbiota, opportunist pathogens do attack. Skin resistance may vary with the age. Children highly susceptible to the ringworm infection. Resistance increase with increased content of the saturated fatty acid in the sebaceous secretions. Bites from the infected arthropods like insects, mosquito, and ticks act as the hypodermic needles and they just make the way for the bacteria to enter into the skin. These inject pathogens causing disease as malaria, plague, or the West Nile fever because they break the skin by their bites. Ways of penetrating this mechanical barrier include puncture wounds and the burns, tooth extraction, shaving nicks, war wounds and injections. Penetration of the skin barrier is checked by dendritic cells called Langerhans cells in the skin tissues. We just trap the bacteria if there is any break in the skin and the bacteria get enter into the skin layer. So these Langerhans cells or the army of the skin tissue, these just trap the bacteria and does not allow to go deep into the dermal layer. After detecting pathogen, these phagocytize pathogen and migrate to a regional lymph node for further killing, but does not allow the bacteria to go into the bloodstream and the dermal layer. Dendritic cells secrete cytokines which influence both innate and acquired immune responses. And here one can see the lymph node where these bacteria go, the afferent lymphatic vessels through which these get enter into the, and here these are being killed, and then the efferent lymphatic vessels through which these are made out, and the bacteria are not able to reach to the bloodstream, and this the first check line where the bacteria are being checked and killed. Number two is the mucous membrane. Bacteria can gain access to the body via moist mucous membrane of respiratory, gastrointestinal and urogenital system, like squamous epithelial cells of the skin. Mucosal epithelial cells also divide rapidly, and mature cells are pushed and shed similarly like the skin keratinocytes, and in only 36 to 48 hours, complete replacement of the epithelium occurs with resident bacteria which are lying there. These are also kicked off and sloughed off. Mucous membrane also contains cilia and the mucus that covers epithelia, which resist microbial colonization and just push them away from the body. Cells of the mucous membrane lining respiratory tract secrete mucus which covers the surface of the mucosa, a sticky secretion of the glycoprotein that traps particles and the microbes. The epithelial cilia then move microbe-laden mucus up to the throat, from where this mucus is swallowed or coughed out, and this mucociliary apparatus, ciliary elevator or escalator, is damaged by the alcohol, cigarette smoke, and viruses. So they are not able to do the proper functioning of making out the particles and the bacteria. This damage can lead to the bacterial infections. Here one can see the mucus secretion, the epithelium, and below is the lamina propria. Mucous membranes are coated with the secretions of the mucous glands, as one can see these glands, and these membranes line the digestive, respiratory, urinary gland. And ciliary escalator, cilia on the mucous membrane of the lower respiratory tract move upward towards throat at 1 to 3 centimeter per hour. So anything which is being trapped by the mucus secreted by these cilia, that is pushed outward and that is taken up into the throat to be swallowed or to be pushed out through the mouth, and then not able to cause the infection. Other protective mechanisms are alveolar macrophages, lysozyme in the tears and the mucus, hairs in the nose, cough reflex, which prevents the aspiration into the lung. So these are the guard of the lungs. The lysozyme, lactoferrin, and lactoperoxidase in mucus have protective role. They either kill the bacteria or restrict their growth. Mucus contains secretory immunoglobulin IgA that is synthesized by the plasma cell present in the submucosal tissue of the respiratory tract. Local specific antibodies are formed against many intestinal bacteria that colonize mucous surfaces. Here one can see the nasal mucosa, the tonsil, the oral mucosa, tracheal mucosa, gastric mucosa, intestinal mucosa, pear patches, respiratory mucosa. These are the first line of defense. Mucous membrane is defended by the mucus, cilia, antimicrobial secretions by these mucous lining. These are the way that many pathogens gain entry to the body, and these are being trapped and guarded by these mucus and cilia. So here one can see the goblet cells, the different cells, they are able to defend and block the entry of mucous membrane. The next check post is the chemical barrier. Their main function is to kill the pathogens. Bile, made up of the lactic and the fatty acids that kill the pathogens of the gut. Defensins are the antimicrobial proteins found in the various secretions of the body like GAT, lower respiratory tract, and urogenital tract. They are highly positively charged cationic peptides that create spore in the membrane of the bacteria, and bacteria are not able to survive because of the lysis of the bacteria, and the contents of the bacteria come out from these pores. These are produced by the phagocytic cells and epithelial cells. They produce the chemical barrier. Some are continuously produced, others are produced by the microbial products. These are of two types. We are talking about the defenses, alpha defensin found in the intestinal tract and beta defensin found in the respiratory tract. So, continuing the chemical barrier, lysozymes is the third type antimicrobial protein found in the granules of the granulocytes. These are the WBCs, a chemical inhibitor found in the human tears, mucus, and the saliva. Cationic proteins which degrade peptidoglycan in bacterial cell wall of the gram-positive bacterial. Interferons, antimicrobial proteins, especially against viruses. Sebum, an oily substance secreted by the sebaceous gland with antibacterial activity, and the complements antimicrobial plasma proteins activated directly by the pathogens. So these are also protective in nature and indirectly by the pathogen bound antibody. So here one can see the defensins. These are just at the entry of the host cell and they do not allow the bacteria, and one can see the cytoplasmic membrane and the pores, and defensives are just the guard here and they do not allow the bacteria. Here again defensive function. These are deferred. They defend from pathogens, shape microbiota and protect stem cells. As one can see, these blue are the defensins and the red are the bacteria, and here it is the intestinal pear patch that does not allow the bacteria to invade because of presence of defensins. And here one can also see the different secretions and different enzymes, lecithinase, coagulase, like and different enzymes which are capable of destroying the bacteria and does not allow the bacteria to invade the host. So these are also the defense system of the body. Again, one can see the sebum and that is also protective in nature, and that is the normal hair follicle with the sebum which has the fatty acid which are antibacterial in nature. Acidic environment of the stomach, pH 2, that is capable of killing the bacteria and does not allow the bacteria to get into the next system. And urogenital tract in vagina, and acid pH is maintained by the normal lactobacilli bacteria and inhibiting establishment of the yeast, anaerobes, and the gram-negative bacteria. Various hydrolytic and proteolytic enzymes found in the saliva and the GIT is also the part of the chemical barrier. Then antibacterial factors in the secretion covering the mucous surface